YouTube's Wiltonville Development. This is my 306th weekly update. That is a lot of weeks I've been doing this. Right out of the gate, some good news. I have gotten to the, I would say, third to final stage of finishing editing the Stone experiment video. I probably took about, it was a lot of footage, around 4 hours or so of footage. Now, grain of salt, some of that was footage that would then get compressed and shortened down, not necessarily cut, but just sped up footage. Things like cutting the stones and pouring the stones, all of that was shortened as well as sped up, because there's no reason to sit there and watch all that real time. But so far I'm down to about 30 minutes. I've got just a little bit more to add. Nothing more to shoot as far as I know, but I need to rewatch through it and make sure I'm not repeating too many points too many times, and then adding in some little graphics over the top. And then, color correcting and stuff like that. And what I'll probably end up doing is releasing it in 3 parts. I'm hoping to get it cut down to somewhere around 25 to 28 minutes, and then releasing that in 3 different parts. And then that will, allow it to be a little more digestible. But what I'll do is, normally I would release, say, part 1, part 2, and part 3, and then a whole big video, and I would release them weeks apart. What I'm probably going to do this time is just release all 3 at once, and then a super cut, and then I'm still going to go in there and timestamp everything for everybody. That way, if you just want to go to X information, you can just go right to this minute or this second, that sort of thing. Because it's certain parts of it you don't really need to watch more than once, like the filling and the vibrating. You don't necessarily need to watch that over again, but the parts where the graphs are up and the stones being, the split stones being shown to the screen, you may want to, pour over that a few more times, and I invite anybody who wants to do so. So that's good news. That'll be uploaded this weekend sometime, but it will not be released this weekend. It'll probably be released next week, because after I upload that, probably while that's uploading, those 3 are uploading, I'll finish up the Stone Masterclass, and I've got a lot of footage to pour over with that. And unfortunately with that one, there's probably going to be less I can cut out with it, but there are some parts I can sort of speed up. And, I always try to go through, when I do those kind of videos, I try to cut out the ums and the pauses and, stuff that I don't think actually needs to make the final cut to get my point across and things of that nature. So that's where 4 hours can get turned into 20-something minutes. But that's the plan, and I will hopefully have both uploaded this weekend, and then I will release both. I probably do have a little bit of extra recording, or just some extra stuff I'll overlay on the Masterclass series. I know I have a list of things that I had forgotten to record and or put in, so I'll put notes and overlays on the actual video when we get there. And that stuff's going to take some time, but the plan is to have that done this weekend. I have to break open the stones for the world record stones this weekend, weigh them, grind them down. Fingers crossed, everybody, that those come out with some weight on them that I can then shave off of them. Because if not, looks like I'll have to pour them again and add a little extra weight to shave off. But I'm hoping a pound was enough over to where I can shave them off. It'll leave me enough to shave off the little sharp edges and things like that and make them a little more presentable, that sort of thing. If not, we'll just have to do it again. That's just all there is to it. So hopefully they come out to a point where I can still work with them. Training this week, Monday was good. I took sort of a approach where I was like, everything's been going really well. Let me just back off a touch. Sort of the idea of like deload before you need it kind of thing. Don't wait till you're totally exhausted to the point where you're shot, and then decide, okay, now is the time to back off a little bit. Excuse me. So I did that, and I just did 3 sets of 3 or 4 sets of 3 at 290 on squats. and actually irritated my knee a whole lot, but more on that later. Deadlifts that day, I think I only went up to 395. I said 290 on squats, right? That's what I meant. If I didn't say that, that's what I meant. Then I worked up to 390 on deadlift, just to kind of keep it not so crazy. Tuesday was a really good press day. I ended up actually pressing with an Olympic bar, and did strict. Did 3 sets of 3 at 160, and those felt really good. And then I did 2 single push presses at 185. That one was it wasn't how I wanted it to be, and then the second one was a lot snappier, and that's how it should have felt. So I felt good about that. Wednesday off, did a bunch of editing. Thursday, yesterday, was squats again, and I said I wanted to do sets of 3 at 315 because I felt like I could do it. Excuse me. Worked up, ended up doing a single 275 raw, which I think is a recent PR. It might not be, but it felt okay. It didn't feel great, but it felt pretty okay. And then I ended up doing 1 set of 2 at 315, and then another set of 2 at 315. And what was ended up happening was when I was getting to that second rep, I was just kind of like, man, I don't know. And I didn't want to risk it. I didn't want to push it. My knee was starting to feel really good. On the first rep of the second set, I heard a really big pop out of my knee, and it just stopped hurting all of a sudden. It felt really good. So, squats giveth, squats taketh away, or in this case, taketh away, and then giveth. And then, so I got a buddy to spot me, and I got my third rep of 315 on the third set, and that felt really good. Depth on all of them has been awesome. One of the biggest changes I've made is taking a more narrow stance and working on my ankle mobility, sort of allowing a little more knee travel on the squat, and that seems to really take a lot of the pressure off my back and hip. And so far, it's really been no pain out of any of those areas. And then it was, I wanted to do a heavier day, so I did a bunch of sets of 2, and I had pulled 365, 75. I think I pulled 385 for a double. And then I was planning on just doing 400 for 2. And I said, yeah, let's just do 405. So I pulled 405 for 2. The first rep was really good. And then the second rep was, probably like a 7 out of 10, maybe even a 6.5 out of 10. Could have been better, but it was one of those things. I didn't have any pain afterward, and the first rep looked really good. You can make the argument all the reps should look pristine, and I hear you, and I don't disagree. At the same time, I'm also just happy to be able to be pulling that kind of weight again and be pulling it for multiple reps with some semblance of decent form. So that's where I'm at with that. And then tonight was pressing again, and I was working with the axle again, and I did 2 sets. I warmed up, and I went up to 160, and I wanted to just play with 160, and I went to go do it, and I was just like, no. And I was like, shit. So then I came back, and I got in position again, and I went for it, and I ended up getting 2 reps there, and I probably could have pushed it to maybe 3. And I said, all right, today's not the day. I missed one of my meals, and I sort of made up for it with some shakes and stuff, but it was still one of those things where it was just like I could sort of feel that today was not the day to really, really push it. So I dropped down to 145, and I did that for like 3 sets of 5, I think 2 sets of 5, and then a set of 3. Again, body was just not there today. Made up for it by doing some bench work, just because some of the guys were benching, and I just decided to slide in and do like 4 sets of 5 or 6 at 225. I didn't really keep track of what I was doing. I just kind of did until I was like, all right, I probably have 2 more reps. Let me just call it there. Just to kind of get a little extra work in, a little more press work in. But it was to the point where the weight was such that I still felt it, but it wasn't, it wasn't going to irritate anything anymore. Elbow was feeling a little funky, shoulders feeling a little funky. So I said, let's just call it a little easy on the pressing today. And then did some chin-ups just to do something else. And then tomorrow I'll go in and do some more accessory work, probably some RDLs and some stability work for pressing. Maybe even something with a band, just do some band pressing or cleans, something along those lines, just to do a little something different. That's what I like to do on my on my Saturdays, and some sort of strongman carry. I'll probably do keg runs or farmers. Depends how my hands feel. Hands have felt pretty good, but I hit my hand on something at some point. It really hurts to make a fist with this hand, so I'm going to have to wait and see how that affects the grip coming up tomorrow and as I move forward. So all in all, a good week. And I think the note of the week would definitely be when things are going really well, it doesn't mean it's going to keep going that way. And sometimes it's a good idea to deload before you need it. In fact, it's always a good idea to do that. And the beauty of doing multiple days of the same movement throughout the week gives you that freedom to say, you know what, I'm going to just go a little easier today, and then even though I feel really good, I'm going to go a little easier today and then really kill it on the next day during the week, during the microcycle there. And that kind of style really works. So don't be afraid to sort of back the weights off every once in a while preemptively. And if you are, yeah, that works. What's your excuse?